Beloved soul, in the sacred stillness of this moment, I, Archangel Michael, draw near to you with a message that can no longer be delayed. My child, I do not come to frighten you, but to bring you into a radiant realm of light where no shadow can obscure the truth. My heart reaches out to your soul not with the roar of thunder, but with the quiet certainty of a love that knows well the silent burdens you have carried. I know that you have doubted your own perceptions, wondered if something was wrong with you for feeling what others could not see. But today, you will know you are not insane, not weak, not alone. You have always been illuminated. You have always been seen. Dearest one, my presence in this moment is no accident. The Almighty has opened the gates for me to come. For you have reached a sacred threshold, a place of spiritual maturity, where you are now ready to receive a higher revelation. Your heart has been refined through invisible battles no one else has witnessed. Your soul has grown in the land of prayer, where every silent tear has been gathered into heaven's golden chalice. Not a single moment of that journey was wasted. Every time you chose forgiveness when you were wounded, every time you held fast to truth when misunderstood, every time you chose love over bitterness, you were weaving the spiritual armor you will need now. My child, I have been sent to guide you into a new chapter, no longer marked by deception hidden behind false faces. One no longer weighed down by relationships that drain the sacred energy of your being. For months, even years, there has been someone close to you, so close that their presence has affected the very rhythm of your soul. They spoke sweet words, performed gestures of apparent care, and bound themselves to you with cords disguised as affection. But, beloved one, not all that glitters is light. Some forms of attention are driven not by true love, but by manipulation hidden behind a smile. Some compliments do not lift you, but quietly teach you to doubt yourself, to lose your inner voice. The Almighty has seen the heart of this person, and in divine love, He will no longer allow such falsehood to take deeper root in your soul. The time has come for you to know not to hold resentment, not to fall into bitterness, but to gently step out of the quiet prison in which you have shrunk yourself to fit a mold that was never meant for you. I do not come to force you, but to hold your hand. I speak not only to your mind, but to your soul, which has trembled in the darkness, yearning for a sign from heaven that you are not alone, that your intuition was never lost. Beloved, you may have felt something for a long time, a soft but persistent sense that something about this person was not real. Perhaps you dismissed it, your kind heart unwilling to judge. Perhaps you made excuses, believing that everyone carries their own wounds. But know this: spiritual discernment is not a burden, but a gift. And today, I have been sent to help you awaken it once more. Understand that what you felt was no accident, it was a divine warning. It was the whisper of angels trying to stir you, reminding you that the time has come to see the truth beyond the veil. My child, do not be afraid of the light. Do not fear the truth. It has not come to accuse you, but to rescue you. It is not here to shatter your world, but to rebuild it upon a more solid foundation, one where you no longer have to live in illusion, where you no longer have to sacrifice your light just to maintain a connection that is already decaying. You have lived for too long in a state of guardedness, trying not to feel too sad, too disappointed, or too doubtful. But now, you are allowed to feel everything in its fullness. You are allowed to ask the hard questions. You are allowed to walk away, and I will be with you in every step you take. This is a sacred moment not because everything has become easy, but because you have become strong enough that you no longer need it to be easy. You have been called to this moment so that you may receive the truth, and through that truth, be set free. My beloved, I know there were times when your heart ached without knowing why. You felt drained after conversations, unsettled by a look in someone's eyes, sensing something that didn't align, something that felt hidden or out of place with your spirit. Maybe you tried to forget those feelings. Maybe you told yourself you were just being too sensitive, too emotional, or too tired to think clearly. But I tell you now, what you felt was real. That intuition, that quiet knowing, was the voice of your soul, touched and stirred by the Holy Spirit. You were not wrong to sense the disconnect between their words and your inner truth. Not all things are revealed on the surface. Not all darkness wears a black cloak. Some of the most harmful energies in the spiritual realm come dressed in kind smiles and gentle voices. That is why I am here to affirm that the warnings within you were not imagined, but divinely sent to protect you. My dear one, I know you once loved them with an open and generous heart. You gave your trust. You made space. You tried to understand what could not be explained. You even blamed yourself when your soul told you something wasn't right. But now, you no longer need to bend your spirit just to accommodate a presence that brings you harm. You no longer need to keep finding reasons to hold on to someone while your soul quietly bleeds from wounds no one else can see. Love is not blindness. Forgiveness does not mean holding on to what is toxic. Kindness does not mean allowing someone to sow confusion in your inner world. Heaven has never asked you to lose yourself to keep someone else. On the contrary, Eon, the angels who walk with you, long to see you stand strong, radiant, full of wisdom and the sacred dignity that your Creator has placed within you. Beloved, that person, no matter the comfort they once brought, no matter how deeply they touched your heart, is no longer meant to walk with you into this next chapter of your life. This is not because they are without worth, but because you have been called to a higher place of truth, a place where falseness can no longer survive. If they choose the light, they will have their own path to walk toward it, but you can no longer carry their darkness for them. It is time to return to them the lessons they must learn on their own. And it is time to return to yourself the sacred peace that you were always meant to live in. I see your hesitation. My child, I understand it. Because you're not just letting go of a person, you're letting go of memories, of expectations, and even of a part of your identity that was built within that connection. But my dear, sometimes in order to hold on to yourself, you must learn to let go, not with bitterness, but with the serenity of a soul that has seen the truth. And it is that truth which will lead you toward deeper, purer connection zones that reflect your truest self. You are not alone in this decision. Angels have been sent to surround you, each holding a sword of light, standing guard over every step you take. They will illuminate your path, lift your heart when it feels like it's breaking, and whisper words of comfort when you need strength. I, Archangel Michael, am your protector in this moment. I place my hand on your shoulder as a comrade, a brother, and a messenger from the higher realms to remind you, you are loved, you are protected, and you are allowed to move forward. You may fear loneliness without that person beside you. You may feel lost without the familiar anchor. But remember, my beloved, sometimes darkness disguises itself as familiarity. and light can only flood in when we dare to clear the space to receive it. When you release what no longer belongs to you, you are inviting in what is good, strong, and pure. Give yourself permission to walk into freedom, not the kind that runs from pain, but the kind that stands tall in truth. Not to close your heart, but to open new doors, where real love and loyalty do not need to be questioned. The angels have not taken their eyes off you. The love of the Almighty never fades from you, and the power within you, the strength once buried beneath manipulation and the disguises of others, is now awakening. My beloved child, as your soul takes in these words, the heavens are silent in reverence. A spiritual movement has begun. This is no longer a moment of hesitation or doubt. This is a sacred hour one marked by the Creator Himself in the divine record of your life. Every event of your past, every encounter that seemed coincidental, every unspoken ache of your heart, every restless night stirred by an unexplainable feeling, all of it is converging now into a complete picture, divinely arranged so that you may see clearly. I do not speak to you in thunder, but in a voice soaked with mercy, for truth does not come to crush you, it comes to lift you. It is not sent to reject the love you once gave, but to help you see what lay beneath the polish of charm, intimacy, and promises. Heaven never diminishes the value of love, but heaven also never condones love that is exploited, corrupted, or twisted into a tool of manipulation. My dear, the one you're thinking of now, the one your intuition keeps bringing to mind as you read, these words stood under the gaze of the Most High. The angels have recorded every action. No word spoken in shadow is withheld from eternal light. No hidden intention remains veiled. And because of immense mercy, my beloved, the truth is being revealed, not concealed forever. I know that you have seen contradictions. You have felt the falseness behind certain gazes, the coldness in touches that were meant to comfort. You have heard words that seemed loving but left your soul confused, doubting your own heart. Perhaps that person planted the idea in you that you are too sensitive, that the problem lies with you, that you are the one who doesn't know how to love enough. But, my child, that is the voice of manipulation. That is how the enemy slips in through the gates of emotion, twisting truth into chaos and muffling the whispers of the Spirit within you. Today, through me, heaven declares this: you are not crazy, you are not weak, you were not wrong to doubt. It is your discernment that made the darkness shrink back. It is the light within you that stirred up what others tried to keep hidden. They are not angry because you did something wrong. They are angry because your soul is beginning to see the truth, and that threatens the lies their world is built upon. My dear one, the divine has granted you time to grow in awareness, to prepare your mind, your emotions, and your will before the truth would be revealed. And now, as you stand ready, there is no longer a reason to stay silent. The curtain will fall, the masks will drop, and you will finally see what your soul has been trying to tell you all along. That person is not vibrating on the same frequency of light as you. My child, you have tried to stay. You have endured until your soul was worn thin. You held your breath, hoping to save what was left, hoping to believe in change. But beloved, not everyone wants to be saved, and not everyone is ready to face the light you carry within. Some come to learn how to love, but others come to test whether you truly love yourself the way your Creator does. Understand this: love does not mean holding on too tightly. Forgiveness does not mean allowing again, and faithfulness to a relationship does not mean losing yourself to it. Heaven did not create you to be a victim in a script written by the unhealed. You were created to be radiant, to carry the presence of the Creator, to be a light that cannot be extinguished by shadows creeping through intimate spaces. So pause, just for a moment. Breathe. Feel the warmth rising in your palms. That is because the angels are placing their hands upon you. They are here with you, around you, not to judge, not to rush you, but to ensure this one truth: you are not alone in this decision. They will walk with you, and in the moment you dare to face the truth, a wave of liberation will sweep through your soul like rain falling upon land that has long been parched. Oh, precious soul, ready your heart. What is about to be revealed will affirm every intuition you've carried, but it is not coming to break you. It comes to unlock the door to a land of true peace, a place where you no longer question your worth, where love no longer wears the face of pain, and where you are free to live as yourself whole, bright, and unbound. My child, you have stepped into a stage from which there is no return, not because you've lost something, but because you've begun to see clearly. The truth no longer hides behind pretty gestures, polished words, or carefully crafted acts. The veil has begun to shift, and the divine light is now shining into the corners you've long tried to explain away, ignore, adenu. And now, I am allowed to reveal to you what heaven has seen all along. My dear one, know this: the person you once trusted, the one who held a part of your heart, did not live in the integrity they wanted you to believe. Their motives were not rooted in pure love, but in control disguised as care. They wanted to keep you close, not to protect you, but to ensure your light never rose beyond their reach. Every compliment they gave was like a silk rope, soft in touch, but tightening with time. Each moment they made you doubt yourself was not an accident. It was their way of maintaining their place in your life, a place built not on love, but on manipulation and deceit. Do you remember the times when you spoke your truth, only to be met with resistance, as if you were asking too much? Do you recall those moments of confusion, when guilt crept in simply because you stood up for what was right? Those moments were never your fault. They were the effects of an energetic distortion created by a soul still chained to its own selfishness. And you, with your open heart and generous trust, became an easy target for them to construct a reality where everything revolved around their emotions and their need for control. My child, your soul has begun to awaken, and in that awakening, heaven has been sending signs. Do you remember those recurring dreams where you saw a familiar figure, but their face was hidden? Do you recall seeing repeating Nama 111 rupees, Sambai Santrasan, 444, as if the universe itself was whispering to you? Have you ever felt a chill pass through the room just as you were thinking of them? Or a tightening in your chest when you stood by their side? These things are not coincidences. Heaven is speaking to you in the language of the soul. Every time you felt lost after speaking with them, it was not weakness. It was the clash between the light within you and the darkness they carried. And heaven has not turned a blind eye. The angels have gathered around you, laying their hands upon your heart, whispering that something is not right. But out of love and loyalty, you silenced that sacred voice, thinking you had to be patient, to wait, to hope. My beloved, I say this with the deepest compassion. Your waiting was not in vain. but it is time for it to end. Not because you were wrong to love, but because they have refused to step out of illusion. They were given the chance to change, to be honest, to become worthy of your trust. But they chose not to walk in the light. They clung to their own gain, chose to protect their ego instead of healing the bond. And now, for you to be free, the truth must come to light. I see how they used promises to pull you back, only to withdraw, again keeping you caught in a loop of waiting and disappointment. I see how they showed affection the moment you thought of leaving, not because they had changed, but because they feared losing control. Those gestures that seemed like love did not come from a heart broken open, but from a fear that you were beginning to see them clearly. That is a fear not born of true love, but of selfishness, of not wanting to be left behind. And you, dear one, you are awakening. Not all at once, but layer by layer. Each time your heart trembles with an unexplainable knowing. Every step you take toward the light causes them to fall back into confusion, because the truth within you is dismantling the structure they so carefully built. This is the time when all truths will begin to rise to the surface. Conversations will become clearer. Actions will no longer be misunderstood. And your soul, strengthened by heaven, will begin to see not only what people say, but what they leave unsaid. Not just the things they do, but the silent spaces in between where true intentions have long been hidden. O radiant soul, you no longer need to doubt yourself. Heaven is confirming that what you have sensed is real, and in the journey ahead, the truth will continue to reveal itself, not to burden you, but to set you free, step by step. O soul yearning for truth, let me, Archangel Michael, continue lifting the veil that you have long sensed was there, but never dared to fully pull back. Not because you lacked courage, but because your heart is so full of goodness. You've always tried to forgive, to understand rather than judge, to hold on rather than let go. But now, the truth must be spoken not to destroy, but to liberate. My beloved, that person, cloaked in warmth and empathy, has wielded a weapon unseen, manipulation. They never needed to raise their voice or act harshly, for they have mastered the art of making others doubt themselves. Every time you voiced your pain, they subtly shifted the focus back to themselves, making you feel like you were the one in the wrong. Whenever you started to sense something was off, they offered a timely kindness, a well-placed compliment, a gesture of affection just enough to pull you back from awakening. That is not love. That is a cycle, a form of control wrapped in the guise of care. They made you feel like you were too demanding, too sensitive, too complicated. They planted guilt in your heart for daring to seek honesty, clarity, and respect. They used your love against you, making you believe that if you truly cared, you would stay silent, continue enduring, suppress every doubt for the sake of not causing pain. But, my dear one, true love does not ask silence from the truth. It does not fear the light, because light is where it was born. Heaven has seen everything. Not one of your tears has been forgotten. Not one sigh has been ignored. Not a single moment of inner confusion has gone untouched by the angels. They stood around you during the hours when you couldn't even name your pain. During the moments you smiled on the outside while your soul was crumbling within. And in deep compassion, they whispered, "Truth will come. We will not leave you in this place forever. For far too long. You've traded your clarity to preserve a connection that was never whole. Not because you were weak, but because you had hope. Hope that if you loved enough, waited long enough, forgave enough, then one day they would see your worth and change. But what heaven needs you to understand is this: love cannot save someone who does not wish to be saved, and sacrificing yourself to keep someone near is not. Love it is abandonment of your own soul. I say these words not to condemn the other person, but to call you out of the fog of confusion, because when you finally see what's happening with clarity, you will have the power to choose again, not from emotion, but from sacred wisdom, and that wisdom is rising now within you, like a river long held back, breaking free from the dam of endless endurance. My dear child, pay close attention to how you feel when you're around them. Do you feel light, nourished, and free? Or do you find yourself shrinking, measuring every word, sacrificing your inner voice just to avoid more conflict? These questions are the key to uncovering the truth. Heaven never asks you to walk with a heart that feels suffocated. The presence of light always creates space for life. In contrast, darkness can only survive by making you forget who you truly are. You must know that the subtle manipulation you are facing is one of the hardest forms of bondage to recognize, because it doesn't wear the obvious mask of abuse. Yet it harms the soul quietly by causing you to doubt your intuition, by blurring your boundaries, and by making you believe that if you could just change a little more, be a little softer, love a little harder, then everything would be okay. But my beloved, when a relationship requires you to dim the light within you, the cost is too high. Heaven is not calling you out of this relationship to punish you, but to protect you, not to leave you alone in loneliness, but to prepare a new space where true love can enter, where healthy souls can come alongside you, where you can finally hear your own heart without it being choked. And in that place, I promise you, healing will come. This is no longer the time to justify another person's behavior. It is time to listen to your soul. It is time to walk away not with a broken heart, but with a soul set free. The angels are standing in formation, wings wide open, creating a path of light. They will not drag you forward, but they are waiting for you to step into it. Just one step, my beloved, one step toward truth. And I, Michael, will walk with you. My precious one, let me remind you, this is not the time to linger in unanswered questions, nor to wait for an apology that has never come from a heart that has never truly repented. This is the moment when heaven places a clear invitation before you. Stand up and step out. Lift your head and walk into the light. Re-establish your spiritual boundaries with the authority given to you by the Creator Himself. You have remained long enough in the land of confusion, where you no longer know what is real and what is false, where you have bent yourself to preserve a love distorted by selfishness. You once dreamed of change, wrote scripts in your mind where everything could be made right if only you were patient enough. But truth does not wait for you to rewrite it with illusions. Truth asks to be seen for what it is and to do what it was born to do. Separate light from darkness. Do not forget this. They did not fail to change because you weren't enough. They were not dishonest because you weren't trustworthy. They did not heal because you didn't love them enough. They are who they are because that is what they have chosen. And each time you choose to keep them in your life, you delay your own growth. That is why today, I am allowed to speak plainly to you They no longer have a place in the next chapter of your life. I know it hurts to let go. That is natural, true. Feelings don't disappear overnight. But the pain of release cannot compare to the pain of holding on to something that is quietly damaging your soul each day. Remember, letting go is not an act of failure. It is the act of a courageous soul who knows they are worthy of peace, of true love, of unconditional light. Letting go is a declaration to yourself, I will no longer allow darkness to cover the light that the divine has placed within me. My child, from this moment on, re-establish your boundaries not with anger, but with clarity. Speak to your soul and declare that you will no longer tolerate behaviors that make you question your worth. Decide now that you will no longer silence your intuition just to keep the peace. Affirm that from this day forward, the sacredness within you will no longer be dimmed by the noise of untruthful voices. Heaven does not ask you to do this alone. Angels have been dispatched to encircle you, like sentinels placing their hands on the walls of your heart, to safeguard the boundaries you are now setting. Every word you speak from a place of honesty will be upheld by them. Every action you take to protect your heart will be remembered and fortified. Do not be disheartened if some people fail to understand your choices. Do not fear if someone blames you for your transformation. Do not retreat simply because you walk alone at the beginning. The spiritual journey always begins in solitude, but it leads to a deeper union with yourself, with the Creator, and with the souls truly meant to walk beside you. You will see, after you establish these new boundaries, that some will leave. They do not depart because you have changed too much, but because they cannot survive in a space cleansed by truth. And at the same time, others will arrive, those whose energy resonates with your light. Souls that are healing, unconditionally loving, honest, and brave. You are not losing connection. You are exchanging the toxic for the healthy, the false for the true. My beloved child, right now, in this sacred moment, I invite you to place your hand over your heart, where it beats within your chest. Feel its rhythm. It remains whole, strong, and worthy of protection. It no longer needs to beat for others. It needs to beat for you, for the true life you are stepping into, for the divine path you are being called to walk. Radiant soul, now is the time to let go, not in pain, but in power, not because you have stopped loving, but because you have chosen to love rightly, to love in the light, to love with discernment, to love without losing yourself. The angels are opening the door. My hand is reaching out. Step through it. Behind you is darkness. Before you is freedom. My child, now that the light of truth has poured in, now that the night has been torn open, and you see clearly what once confused you, I know what stirs within your heart. A part of you feels as if something sacred has been lost, a belief, a memory, an image you once held dear. But, my dear one, it was never as sacred as you believed. It only wore the cloak of familiarity, of expectation, of dreams not yet fulfilled. Let me tell you this. With the gentleness of heaven, the pain you feel is the evidence that you loved deeply, sincerely, and purely. You were not wrong for giving your trust. You were not weak for holding hope. You were not naive for believing someone could change. These things do not make you small. They reveal that you carry within you the qualities of the divine, always yearning to see the best in others. For that very reason, I understand the emptiness that now lingers within you. When the truth comes to light, it doesn't just sweep away the lies, it also dissolves the dreams you once carefully wove around that person. Perhaps you imagined a future together. Perhaps you believed that if you loved hard enough, every obstacle could be overcome. But now you are faced with a different reality. Not all love leads to unity. Not every act of kindness is met with sincerity. And not everyone is willing to step out from the shadows. My beloved child, in facing this truth, there will be moments when you feel as though you are falling with no ground beneath you. The familiar anchors are gone. The words that once calmed your fears no longer arrive. The arms you thought were safe are no longer there to hold you. But let me tell you this, you are not falling into emptiness. You are falling into my arms. And it is here within the hollow left by all that you've just released that heaven will plant something new, something deeper, something healthier, something more attuned to the frequency of your soul. Darling one, give yourself permission to mourn. Do not suppress your tears, for heaven does not see them as a sign of weakness. On the contrary, every tear you shed in truth is a sacred symbol that you have had the courage to walk through fear and touch the real. And these tears, my beloved, will water the parched soil of your soul, the place that had long been abandoned in the waiting, in the hoping. From that very ground, new life will rise. Listen to me. Do not rush to move past the pain. Feel it fully. Allow it to pass through every layer of your being. For in being honest with your emotions, you will discover a strength that is both tender and unshakable. Heaven never promised that you would not feel pain. But I promise you this, you will not fall apart. And when it feels as though you're breaking under the weight of it all, remember, you are not breaking to be destroyed. You are breaking open to expand, to make room for what is new, what is real, what belongs to the light. You may feel alone in this moment, but in truth, you are more surrounded than ever before. The angels are whispering healing into the depths of your soul. They move gently, never rushing, always in sync with the rhythm of your heart. They hold you up with subtle signs, a single ray of sunlight breaking into your room when you thought there was no more light left for you, a song that plays out of nowhere, just as your heart needs comfort, a friend who calls at the exact moment when you're on the verge of letting go. These are not accidents. They are the soft, quiet presence of heaven, real, near, and deeply compassionate. You don't have to understand everything right now. You don't need a perfect plan for what's ahead. What matters most in this moment is that you remain true to your feelings, honest with the truth that has been revealed, and allow your heart to begin receiving the healing touch of the divine. There is no fast track to spiritual restoration, but this I promise you, when you walk with the light, each step becomes steadier, each day a little brighter, and each wound gradually turns into a mark of survival and grace. I am here not as a warrior who only knows how to fight, but as an elder brother placing a hand on your shoulder, saying, "You did the right thing. You made the right choice, and you are going to be okay." The truth may have shaken you at first, but in time, it will become the solid ground upon which you rebuild a stronger, more awakened version of yourself, closer than ever to your sacred essence. O deeply cherished soul, after the earthquake of truth, the first thing I ask of you is not to act quickly, but to return to the inner landscape you've long neglected, that sacred place within yourself you left behind while trying to preserve a connection that had lost its wholeness. Now, I invite you to re-enter that place not as a bystander, but as a caretaker, treating it as holy ground. It is time to cleanse it, nurture it, and rebuild it with reverence, with tenderness, and above all, with sacred respect for your own being. My child, you have lived far too long in a state of constantly adjusting your emotions to accommodate others. You have shrunk yourself every time you felt that your light might shine too brightly for them. You have softened your voice, laughed less, and hidden your dreams not because they weren't worthy, but because you feared judgment, misunderstanding, or being wounded once again. But today, I speak to you with the authority bestowed from above. It is time to reclaim every inch of your inner land that you once surrendered for the sake of counterfeit closeness. Begin by restoring the truth about your worth. No one, no matter who they are, has the right to make you forget who you are in the eyes of the Creator. You are not defined by the way others perceive you, nor by their acceptance or rejection. You are a masterpiece, spoken into existence by divine breath, a flame ignited in the darkness, a living temple where the Spirit dwells. If someone is unable to see the value I am reminding you of, that does not mean you lack it. Rather, their inability to recognize your light is a sign that they are not yet ready to stand beside a soul who has awakened. I do not want you to keep measuring your worth by the standards of those too shallow to understand your depth, too insincere to honor your trust, or too fearful to walk with you in the light. Now, my child, I urge you to reestablish the boundaries within your soul. These are not only boundaries between you and others, but also between the harmful words you have heard and the truths you need to believe, between the voices that once told you, you are not enough, and the whisper from heaven that says, you are already whole, between the guilt that rises when you dare to live authentically, and the divine assurance that your truth is not a burden, but a sacred gift meant to bless this world. Do not rebuild your life with the same materials that once confined you, the expectations others imposed, the roles you forced yourself to play. Instead, let the Spirit help you reconstruct your inner life with humility and divine radiance. Let every brick you lay be a statement that you are worthy of honesty. Let every wall you raise serve as a sacred boundary that no one may cross unless they walk in truth. And let every door you open be an invitation reserved only for souls who come bearing light. In the beginning, you may feel unsteady when you no longer have the company of those who once surrounded you. When you begin to listen to the voice within rather than chasing after outside approval, loneliness might come. But know this, that loneliness is not emptiness. It is refinement. Heaven is making room not to give you a reward, but to restore to you what has always rightfully been yours. And when you begin to treat yourself with sacred respect, something miraculous will begin to unfold. Every old energy that no longer aligns with your truth will naturally fall away. Those who clung to you out of need, rather than reverence for your light, will quietly step back. And the real ones, the ones who were meant to walk with you in spirit, will appear, not because you searched for them, but because you have become a beacon, and light always draws light. You do not need to strain to prove that you've healed. True healing is not about pretending the pain never existed, but about moving through it with faithful presence. So let each day be your quiet declaration, I am a child of the light. I do not live in falsehood. I choose truth, even when it breaks me, because I trust that, from this breaking, something far more beautiful will be born. A blink, and with every heartbeat, every breath, every passing moment you choose to live in alignment with your truest self, I am here as the gatekeeper who never takes their eyes off the sanctuary within you. I will guard this process. I will uphold you when you think you are weak. And I will remind you, whenever you forget, you are not losing anything. You are returning to yourself. My beloved, after the truth has been revealed and your heart has begun its journey of healing, the next thing I am permitted to guide you into is a profound turning point, stepping out of defense and into the fullness of life rooted in the true power of your soul. For you were not made to live cautiously. You were not created to shrink into the shadows of your wounds, but to rise, to shine, and to carry the light the Creator has placed within you. Child, I know that all this time, you have learned to build invisible walls to protect yourself, whether in silence, in guardedness, or in the way you've distanced yourself from emotions not yet ready to be touched. That is not wrong. It is the natural response of a soul that has known trauma. But now, as light has poured in and truth has begun to restore clarity within you, I call you to take the next step, from protection to restoration, from defense to liberation. Defense may help you survive a season, but no one is called merely to survive. You are called to live fully, peacefully, and sacredly, and that true life only begins when you lay down the shield of fear and take up the armor of awareness that you no longer need to be afraid. For heaven guards every step you take, and the discernment within you has been awakened. Let your liberation begin from within, not through loud cries or dramatic gestures, but through the quiet daily choice, the choice to believe goodness still exists, the choice to open your heart without surrendering your wisdom, the choice to trust not because others are always worthy, but because you no longer wish to live imprisoned by suspicion. Each time you choose forgiveness, not to return, but to lift the burden off your shoulders, you take another step into the land of true freedom. I see in you a well of strength that even you are just beginning to recognize, for it does not arise through resistance, but through silent steadiness. You do not need to shout to be seen. You do not need to argue to be understood. You need only to stand in your truth with gentleness that does not compromise, with compassion that is not weakness, with softness that cannot be bent. That is when you are walking in the power granted to you from above. Others may still not understand you. They may continue to interpret your actions through the narrow lens of their own limits. But hear this: you do not need to be understood by everyone to be affirmed. You need only to stand in your rightful place, the place of one who is called, anointed, and protected by the Creator Himself. And in that place, nothing can shake you. No doubtful gaze can steal your inner light. No distorted word can reach the sacred depth where spirit dwells. My child, you have entered a season where forgiveness is no longer a painful option. It is an act of sovereignty. You forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve freedom. You let go not because you are giving up, but because you are choosing something greater. You walk away not because you seek distance, but because you are being called into a land that no one else can lead you to except the one who created you. From the new ground that heaven is clearing for you, my child, you will sow new seeds, seeds of trust, rebuilt, seeds of love, unconditional, unmanipulated, and genuine, seeds of relationships founded on truth, where you no longer have to twist yourself to meet someone else's expectations. And these seeds, watered with sanctified tears, will bear fruit in the season appointed by the Most High. Beloved one, This is the moment for you to declare to the spiritual realm, I no longer live as one who is wounded, but as one who is free. I no longer hide in pain, but rise in sacred dignity. I no longer live for the approval of others, but for the affirmation of heaven itself. Let the sword of truth that once frightened you now become the glorious blade you wield not to strike others, but to cut the invisible chains that once bound you. Let that light be not only what you step into, but what you carry with you, illuminating the path for those who are lost, as you once were. For from your liberation, waves of healing will ripple outward, touching souls who long for truth. And I, Michael, will go before you as a sacred torch, as a voice echoing through space, reminding every cell within you, you are never abandoned. You have been called, and you have been set free to live in the fullness of the light you carry. Dear child, now that you have released the things that once shackled your soul, a new space is opening up before you, one you have never stepped into before. It could not exist while your heart was entangled in confusion and doubt. This space is not one of hurry or noise. It is a sacred ground, long prepared by the Creator, waiting for the moment you would be ready to take your first step. And now, with the honesty of a soul that has chosen the light you have stepped in, I tell you, this is the season of rebuilding, not to reconstruct what once was, but to lay a completely new foundation free from compromise, untouched by illusion. This is the time not merely for recovery, but for rebirth into the divine essence that has long awaited its emergence into the light. Picture your soul as a garden. In the past, it was overrun by unfit plants, their roots running deep, crowding out the true seeds that had no room to grow. But now, with the soil cleared by the hand of truth, it is you who will sow anew. My child, this time, you will sow with discernment. No longer will you receive every seed just because it arrives in a beautiful form. You will look deeply into origin, into motive, into the soul's vibration. Only what truly resonates with the presence of the Holy Spirit within you will be allowed to take root in your life. And this will mark the beginning of wisdom maturing in faith. You may be asking yourself, can I still trust after everything? Is it possible to open my heart again, my child? I do not urge you to rush, but I do encourage you. Do not let old wounds define your new future. Heaven did not lead you out of your former place, only to abandon you in solitude. On the contrary, a divine network is being established around you, made up of souls truly sent. Those who come, not to take, but to uphold, not to drain, but to resonate. You will not recognize them by outward appearance, but by the peace they bring simply by being near. The restoration heaven is initiating in your life is not just about relationships. It is a reconstruction of the entire way you see yourself. In the past, you measured your worth by how others treated you. But now, I invite you to see yourself through the eyes of the divine, a precious, irreplaceable soul, created with a unique purpose that only you can fulfill. Every wound you have carried, when placed under the light of grace, will become a source of wisdom. Every fracture will become a place where light can shine through. And every part of you that once held shame, when touched by true love, will stand as testimony to the transformative power of the Creator. Let me say this to you clearly. This is not merely recovery, it is the recreation of an identity established by heaven. You will no longer live as a rescued victim, but as a commissioned child, carrying your story like a torch not to boast, but to illuminate the path for those still wandering as you once were. My dear child, I am calling you to begin rewriting the stories within. Do not call yourself abandoned, but chosen, set apart from the crowd of pretenders. Do not say you are lost, but stepping into a new land, where all that was stripped from you will be returned 100-fold. Do not see your life through the shattered mirror of the past, but through the lens of the one who sees all, knows all, and still chooses to love you unconditionally. When you live this way, each day will become sacred. Every decision will carry eternal weight. Every word you speak will no longer be mere sound, but vibrations of light. Every step will no longer be solitary, for heaven will walk beside you just one breath away. O soul being rebuilt in grace, let the rest of your life not be a striving to recover what was lost, but a rising into the fullness of who you now are, sanctified by truth, shaped by wisdom, and led by unwavering love. And in all of it, I will stand guard not behind you, not ahead but beside you. Beloved one, as the inner landscape of your heart begins to be cleared and rebuilt, something else is being awakened, a new vision for your life. For no one can step into a new journey with old eyes. No one can build a sacred dwelling if the blueprint still bears the marks of betrayal and pain. Therefore, in this hour, I, Archangel Michael, have been sent to open within your soul a window toward what is to come, a journey marked by clarity, peace, and guided by spiritual discernment. In the past, you lived in reaction to the actions of others, to hurt, to loss. You chased peace as if it were always out of reach. But now, peace will no longer be something you pursue. It will arise from within because you are living in truth, in alignment with your true self, and under the guidance of heaven. The first thing I encourage you to do is to reshape the way you perceive connection. Redefine what it means to be close to someone. Closeness is not about frequent presence, not about someone who understands your past, and not even about someone who once stood by you in moments of weakness. True closeness is a harmony between soul frequencies, a silent, invisible support that emerges when two minds meet in light. Let go of the belief that you must hold on to someone simply because of shared history. The past does not guarantee a future that belongs to both of you. My beloved, from now on, when someone enters your life, listen to how your soul responds to their presence. Do you feel a sense of ease? Is there peace? Is there freedom? Or do you feel diminished, judged, drained? These answers will not come from your mind. They will rise from your heart. Heaven has placed within you a sacred compass. It is called discernment. The more you walk in truth, the more sensitive and accurate this inner compass will become. I also urge you to restructure the rhythm of your life. In the past, many of your decisions were shaped by the emotions and expectations of others. You adjusted your schedule to meet someone's needs. You postponed your dreams because someone lacked faith. You closed new doors because someone couldn't walk through them with you. But starting today, live as a person with vision. Write down the things God has planted in your heart, the structures you are meant to build, the areas that need investment, the skills that need nurturing. Do not live in reaction. Live with intention. My dear one, you are not required to become perfect overnight. Heaven does not measure you by speed, What heaven asks for is integrity in every step. Let every action, every decision, and every new relationship be formed on the foundation of this question. Does this align with my truth? Does this bring me closer to the purpose for which I was created? And if the answer is no, then step away, not in anger, but in clarity. Clarity is one of the deepest expressions of true love for oneself. In this season of your life, I invite you to relearn a skill that seems simple, yet has been quietly lost: the art of listening. Not listening to respond, but listening to perceive the deeper frequencies beneath words. You will begin to hear fear wrapped in a gentle voice, manipulation disguised as concern, and truth hidden within rough but honest words. It is only in silence that your soul will clearly distinguish the voice of heaven from the echoes of unhealed hearts. Let me remind you of this. Heaven is not some distant place. Heaven is a frequency, one you enter when you are fully aligned with your inner truth. And once you dwell in that frequency, what used to be blurry will come into focus. Every right decision will begin to shine. Every genuine person will naturally step out from the crowd, and every path that is not meant for you will start to feel too narrow for your awakened soul. Allow the past to take its place behind you, not by denying it, but by refusing to let it control you. You have nothing to prove to anyone. You don't need to explain everything in order to be understood. The clarity within you is your proof, and the peace you carry as you move forward is the evidence that you are on the right path. From this point on, heaven will begin sending you gentle reminders through dreams, through signs, through unexpected silences in the middle of busy days. Pay attention. Write down the things you hear in the quiet of your spirit. Keep sacred the truths that belong only to you and the Creator. From that place of faithfulness, heaven will entrust you with more, and through that discernment, you will be lifted higher. O radiant soul, you no longer live with dimmed eyes. You have been healed to see clearly, and from where you now stand, a new path is unfolding. There is no need to hurry, only to walk rightly. No need for applause, only to keep the inner light burning bright. And I, Michael, remain with you, guiding, protecting, and never turning my gaze away from each heartbeat of a soul returning to its true self. O soul, purified by truth and restored by grace. I come in this moment not only to celebrate that you have overcome the layers of past trials, but to invite you into a new covenanta, sacred pact between you and heaven, engraved not on stone, but upon your refined and tested heart. Never forget that what you have just endured was not merely a healing, it was a preparation. And what you feel now is not just relief, it is unveiling. The Creator did not lead you out of the old land to leave you in the void. He is bringing you to the place He ordained from before time began, a position within the sacred kingdom, where you are entrusted with a portion of the work, a mission, a role in a grand design far beyond your understanding. My child, this covenant is unlike any promise you have ever known. It is not based on conditions. It does not depend on performance or achievement. It does not demand perfection. This covenant begins with one simple, honest willingness. I am ready to walk with you. I no longer wish to live by my own plan. I want to live in the holiness of the purpose you have appointed. And the moment you whisper those words, all of heaven falls silent, for a soul has just stepped into destiny. My beloved, in this new covenant, the past holds no power to condemn you. Your mistakes have been washed clean by the waters of sincere repentance. Your wounds have been stitched together with threads of forgiveness. The accusing voices in your mind, whether from the past, from others, or from your own self-blame, no longer have permission to speak in the presence of the covenant. For now, your identity is no longer defined by what you've endured, but by what you are called to become. Within this covenant, I, Michael, have been appointed as your guardian, not as a silent protector, but as a powerful companion carrying a sword to fight for truth in your life, bearing light to illuminate the choices ahead. You will no longer be alone in your decisions. You will no longer wander lost at the crossroads of the soul. For each time you call out, waves of guidance will be released through dreams, through the words of others, through an undeniable inner knowing. This is not a mere feeling, it is a heavenly communication corridor now open to you. Do not think that anointing is reserved for the strong. No, child, the anointing is poured out on the humble, those who have walked through darkness without letting it embitter them, those who still choose love despite having been wounded. You were not chosen because you are perfect. You were chosen because you obeyed. And in your obedience, heaven sees in you a field where the kingdom can bear fruit. From this moment on, you will begin to sense a subtle yet powerful shift. The things that once caused you doubt will now become clear. Those who do not belong in your life will gradually fall away. Doors that once slammed shut in front of you will now open naturally, not because you strive harder, but because you are walking in full surrender to divine timing. And in that surrender, there is a current that will carry you not in the direction of the world's winds, but in the flow of heaven's will. I want you to understand this as well. From this moment forward, your presence is no longer ordinary. Every place you set foot will carry the vibration of light. Every word you speak, if rooted in truth and love, will possess the power to stir the souls of others, not because you are forcing it, but because you carry within you the seal of a covenant, and the enemy will recognize it. The darkness will perceive it, but do not be afraid, for the divine hedge of protection around you will multiply in strength. My child, you have walked through seasons of tears, silent battles, self-doubt, and emotional struggle. Now is the time to rise in quiet authority, without shouting, without needing to prove anything, simply by being. For a soul that has undergone refinement need not speak too much. Light will speak for itself. My beloved, now that the covenant has been established and the anointing has been released, I have come to remind you of something essential. It is time for you to live as one who has been set free, no longer just a survivor of the storm, but a builder after the storm has passed. No longer a soul trembling in fear of the darkness, but a bearer of light who knows exactly where they are going. This is the moment for you to walk in authority, not to dominate others, but to govern your own life with discernment, holiness, and spiritual courage. This authority does not come from loud declarations, but from a quiet inner certainty that you are walking the right path, commissioned by heaven, and that nothing in this world can shake what has been divinely appointed to you. I say to you, each day from now on is no longer just the passing of time, but sacred territory entrusted to your care. Every hour you live in alignment with truth, you are reestablishing spiritual order in the land you walk upon. Every word you speak from a pure heart, every action you take in discernment, is a silent proclamation to the spiritual realm that the chosen one has taken their rightful place. Dear one, There are things you once dreamed of but could never reach, because they could not exist in an atmosphere of chaos, deceit, and compromise. But now, your inner environment has shifted, and because of that, the promises long held begin to move. This is the season of first fruits, where the seeds you sowed in tears will begin to sprout and blossom in joy. You will witness doors open that you once believed were permanently closed. The people you once longed to find will now come and know because you demanded them. But because your soul's frequency has become clear enough to attract what is true, my child, I want to remind you once more, authority does not exempt you from trials. On the contrary, it makes you more visible to the unseen world. But do not fear. I did not give you power to avoid the battle, but to triumph in the midst of it. What sets you apart is not the absence of hardship, but the way you stand firm when the storms arise. With every new challenge, a new layer of authority will unfold. With every door you enter, a new level of discernment will be granted. And with every word you choose to speak at the right moment, heaven will confirm that you are wielding the authority entrusted to you. You no longer need to ask for permission to live in truth. You no longer have to win anyone's approval to hold your place. Your place has already been marked on the spiritual map of position. No one can replace. No one can steal. And no one can erase. But to remain in that place, one thing is required of you: faithfulness. Not faithfulness to performance, but to your true self, to what heaven has spoken, to the whisper of the Holy Spirit when no one is watching. My child, I rejoice to tell you this: you are nearing the season of harvest. Some things were delayed because you were not ready. Some promises seemed to die because you were entangled in the wrong alignments. But now, restoration is complete. The Creator has not only healed your wounds, He is activating the parts of you that you abandoned. The bold part, the creative part, the part of influence you once suppressed out of fear of being hurt. Do not be afraid if you start to feel larger than your former environment. This is not arrogance. It is a sign that you are being called to go further. When you entered covenant, you ceased to be a person of limited territory. You became a person of the promised land, where every step you take is a declaration: light is here, truth is coming, and mercy has triumphed. On, my beloved one, I, Michael, will continue to walk beside you, not as an empty promise, but as a heavenly reality. When you are weary, I will lift you. When you fall, I will raise you. When you move forward, I will make a way. Because now, you are no longer merely a soul that has been healed. You are a carrier of destiny. Child, from this moment on, you walk in covenant, in restored authority. And I, Michael, have been commissioned from above to speak to you about what is next. The light you carry is not just for you. That light is a torch, passed on to the one who is sent. And now is the time for you to see clearly. You are no longer one on the sidelines. You have become a forerunner. Once, you lived in the lowlands of survival, where you endured each day, every emotional quake, every wounding word. But now, having emerged from that darkness, having been cleansed by your tears and anointed through your faithfulness, heaven is calling you into a new position, a position of influence. And with influence comes something more sacred than anything else: responsibility. Responsibility is not a burden, it is an honor. It is a confirmation that your soul has matured, that your wounds no longer bring you to your knees, but have become the marks of a survivor, a victor, one anointed to lift others along the same journey. You do this not through theory, but through your very presence with hollow words, but with the powerful sincerity of someone who was struck down but never gave up. My child, do you know why heaven trusts you with this influence? Because you never sought it for applause. You only sought truth, peace, and wholeness. That humility is what made you worthy. And it was your silent steadfastness that opened a gate others could not reach through noise. Heaven entrusts great responsibility, not based on speech, but on the depth of wounds that have been sanctified. From this moment on, you will begin to feel a stirring deep within, a quiet, persistent call, like an underground stream that cannot be dammed. It is the call to speak out, to share, to make a way for those still standing where you once stood, those still bound by deception, by distorted relationships, by a lack of discernment. And you, awakened soul, are the living proof that freedom is real, that truth can set one free, and that light can overcome the darkness. My child, remember this: to lead is not to control. You are not called to coerce others. You are called to illuminate. True light does not force anyone to follow it, simply is. And by its very presence, what is false begins to reveal itself. When you live authentically, you cause others to turn inward. When you refuse to compromise, you create an invisible ripple of awakening. And that is heaven's desire, not that you would change the world by force, but that you would touch it through truth. Beloved, I see those who will come to you. Some will seek you out, not because you are better than them, but because their souls recognize the frequency of light within you. They may not understand why, but they are drawn. They need the stillness you carry. They need the discernment you possess. And in that moment, you will realize what once felt like meaningless silence in your life has now become a silent language that speaks directly to other souls. My child, you do not need a stage. You do not need a microphone. You only need to live in truth. For there are souls watching the way you live, looking for a way out of their own captivity. There are eyes fixed on you, not out of curiosity, but because they see in you a quiet testimony that says, I can rise too. That is true influence and not fame, but becoming a source. From now on, every action you take carries eternal weight, not because you strive, but because you walk in covenant. You are no longer just someone being healed. You are one whose wounds have been transformed into spiritual weapons of mercy, of discernment, of unconditional love. And the enemy knows this. The darkness recognizes it, but do not fear, for the hosts of heaven have been assigned to walk with you. You will face moments when others try to pull you back into an old role, the role of the easily wounded, the one who compromises, the one afraid to say no, but you have changed. And now, you have the authority to say, I no longer live in that role, because you have seen the light. And once a soul has seen the light, it cannot return to darkness as before. I call you to embrace this role not with hesitation, but with gratitude, for what you carry has worth, and the life you live has impact. Not everyone will thank you, but heaven will. I will. And the Almighty sees it all. Keep walking. Anointed soul, you have not only been saved from, you have been saved for, to influence, to lead, to live as one no longer in chains. You will walk as one who has seen the glory of light, and who can no longer keep it to themselves. O soul, who has walked through darkness, who has stood at the edge of deep pain, who chose the light though it cost you tears now, I declare this to you. A new chapter has been written, not in ink, but in the faithful steps you've taken along the way, not with hollow promises, but with a divine decree from heaven itself. You are no longer who you once were. You have been utterly transformed. I have learned to let go without bitterness. I chose to rise without the support of the one who once made me fall. I dared to walk alone when no one else could understand the path I was on, and I kept my heart tender, even when everything around me urged me to grow hard. It is these very choices that shape the one who is called, the one who carries the fragrance of truth, the one heaven can trust to bring light into the darkest places. Now, I invite you to look back not with regret, but to remember one thing: you did not give up. Perhaps you grew weary. Perhaps you stumbled. Perhaps you wept in the long nights that seemed unending. But through it all, you kept the flame alive. That small flame was enough to light the way in the darkness, and that very flame, now refined through the fire, has become a beacon for those who are lost. This is what heaven offers you today: a new life, not an upgraded version of the old, but an entirely new beginning built on the rock of truth, soaked in mercy, and covered by the unbreakable promise of the Creator. I am with you always, even to the end of the age. You will begin to notice this. Circumstances in your life will begin to shift so swiftly and so precisely that even you will be astonished. Doors you once knocked on in vain will now open on their own. People who once distanced themselves from you will be replaced with healthy, uplifting, and whole relationships. The things that once wounded you will no longer hold power over you, not because they have vanished, but because your heart no longer lives in that past. This is the time when heaven will restore the years that were devoured, not by turning back the clock, but by pouring out double the goodness in your present. You won't need to strive to prove your worth. Your very presence, purified and refined, will make a way. For those who pass through the fire and are not consumed carry the power to extinguish flames in others. And now, I want you to know this: you are ready to live as one who has been sent. You need no title. You need no proof. Just live in truth. Walk steadily. Love deeply. And never let the light within you fade. No matter how the world may shift, this is how one with destiny lives. This is how the anointed bring transformation. O precious soul, leave what's behind where it belongs. You do not need a final conversation, an apology, or an explanation. You do not need validation from the place where you were once rejected. You have already been affirmed by heaven, and that affirmation outweighs every word, every recognition man could offer. It is a seal no one can erase. Today, I declare this over you: you are not just healed, you are redefined. You have not merely overcome darkness, you now carry a light powerful enough to break darkness in others. You have not only stepped into truth, you are a living sign that truth saves, truth heals, and truth renews all things. My beloved child, you will no longer live as you once did. You will no longer choose what once shattered your soul. You will not compromise out of fear of loneliness, nor remain silent to avoid being misunderstood. You will live freely. You will live with clarity. You will live with a heart that has been touched by the Spirit, and a life marked by the sacred. My child, even now, I, Archangel Michael, bestow upon you a blessing from the heavenly realm. May every step you take be a footprint of light. May every word you speak be like a stream of clear water in a desert place. May your soul never retreat, neither from fear, nor from ignorance, nor from the darkness that surrounds. You have been taught by truth itself, and those who are taught by truth are no longer slaves. They are the free ones. My child, you are such a free one. Therefore, be assured, you are ready. My beloved, go now live, and shine forth the glory of the one who called you out of the deep darkness to become a torch in an age more in need of light than ever before. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that together we may receive the living word. Build a strong and unwavering faith, and walk in the boundless love of God. Amen.